Every age has its milestone. When you're 16, you can drive. When you're 18, you're an adult, you can get drafted. When you're 21, you can drink. When you're 30, you think you're old. When you're 40, you realize you were an idiot when you were 30. When you're 50, you know you're more than halfway in, because you can do math, and very few people live to be 100. But when you're 60, this is sort of the critical time for your health. Now, not to say that those other times aren't important, because they are, but when you're 60, this is kind of the point of departure for most people. This is when chronic illness starts to take hold and really rear its ugly head in people's lives. So if you haven't done a good job of taking care of yourself up until now, yeah, you're going to experience the fallout from that now. So what can you do? So if you've been a slob your whole life, you've turned 60, and you're not ready to die, what can you do right now to turn the ship around and get back on track? Because there's still time. It's never too late. There are things that you can do. That's what I want to talk about today. So what is metabolic disease anyway? So basically, your metabolism is the way your body converts food into energy. Pretty simple and straightforward. However, metabolic disease kills about 80% of people who die over the age of 60. I mean, sure, you can have an accident and, every once in a while, something else will get you. But for the most part, it's diseases of our metabolism that kill us. And that's really important to recognize, because the simple process of converting food into energy is where the problem lies. Metabolic disease is caused by the body's inability to convert food into energy. It's really just that simple. And as you get older and your parts start to wear out a little bit, that conversion process becomes more and more tricky. The primary things that are affecting it are, one, your ability to convert glucose into glycogen, which gets stored in your muscles. Glycogen is this form of energy that sugar turns into when it's stored in your muscles. And the second one is inflammation from eating poorly and in just processed foods in general. Taking on that first one, the standing idea that a lot of people have, especially as a result of the keto craze from the last couple decades and all of the bad information online, is people believe that eating sugar, a high sugar diet, causes specifically diabetes. And although it can contribute to diabetes, it is not really the only or even necessarily the primary cause of diabetes. What's happening with diabetes is the body is unable to store glucose, or blood sugar, as glycogen. And that glucose stays in the bloodstream for too long, and that causes damage to our nerves, and it has all kinds of bad downstream effects. What's blocking the glucose from getting into the cells is fat. If you've ever looked at a steak at the grocery store and you see how marbled it is, that is fat, or intramuscular fat, that is blocking glucose from entering the cells of that muscle. Your muscles, if you are overweight or obese, look like that marbled steak at the store. The way that you increase the amount of marbling in your muscles is by eating a lot of processed food, but also eating a diet that's very high in fat, and saturated fat in particular. Now, fat is a healthy macronutrient, so I'm not beating up on fat in general at all. And even some saturated fat, to a certain degree, could be considered healthy. But once you get beyond a certain point, there's like a Goldilocks zone for everything. Once you get beyond a certain point, it's going to become a problem for you. Everyone has a different set point when it comes to these things. People who are very thin can become diabetic. It's not just a disease that affects overweight or fat or obese people. And it's because each one of us has a kind of like a barometer in our body that once we hit whatever that fat level is that we need, that body fat number, from that point forward, we're going to start storing more and more body fat inside of our muscle tissue, and that muscle tissue is going to become resistant to taking on glucose. That glucose is going to remain in our bloodstream for an extended period of time, and it's going to cause you problems. It's going to lead to heightened inflammation, It's going to cause nerve damage. It's going to cause your blood pressure to go up. It can lead to the formation of cancers. I mean, there's just all kinds of bad stuff from that. So rather than saying any particular macronutrient is bad or that you need to change the makeup of your diet, the key to it is having a balanced diet and make sure you're getting a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables and whole grains in your diet. Make sure that your fiber levels are high. And I know a lot of people think, oh, fiber has no nutrient value. Well, they're learning now that fiber has an enormous impact on your microbiome, and it causes your body to create these short-chain fatty acids like acetate and butyrate. And these short-chain fatty acids are critical to the health of your colon and to your brain. So yes, your head is clearly dependent on your ass for a certain amount of its health. So very important to get a lot of fiber in your diet. How much fiber? A minimum of 30 grams a day. That's a bare minimum. And most Americans get about 13 or 14 grams of fiber per day. So you need to at least double what you're getting. And all you got to do is start, adding apples. Apples, carrots, have some oatmeal in the morning. Anything like that will make a difference. So just keep it simple. You don't need to make it really complicated. You don't need to make huge changes in your diet. In fact, I would recommend that you don't make huge changes in your diet, but just start improving the quality of the diet by adding more healthy foods to it. So quality is one characteristic of diet that's critically important, and eating a good quality diet will improve your overall health. Quantity is the other thing. And this is the thing where most people are delusional. Most people think they're eating a certain number of calories. And when we do a calorie count, when I do a calorie count with my clients, and I put them on an app and I have them record everything they stick in their mouth, most people are off by about 20 to 30%. So they think they're eating 2,000 calories, and really they're eating 2,500 or 2,600 calories per day. Now, if you're 21 years old and you're 180 pounds, and you're 6 foot tall, 2,500, 2,600, even 3,000 calories a day may be just fine because you're active, you're strong, you're healthy, you're good to go. But when you're 60 and you're sedentary and you don't get to the gym very often, that may be way too many calories for you. The way to figure out how many calories you need is you probably should start off with what is your ideal weight. So for me, my ideal weight is probably somewhere in the ballpark of 165 pounds. Right now I'm weighing in about 170 to 175 because I've been working on these videos so much. I have not been working out as much as I normally do, and I've been staying up late and eating poorly. So I am paying a price for that. But I have a heightened awareness for my weight. The minute I start adding weight, I immediately start taking action to reduce it. And that's the way you have to take it. Like if you've got to buy a new pair of pants because the old ones don't fit, that's a huge red flag. That's like, you gotta stop everything. You need to just don't buy those new pants and force yourself to wear those pants that don't fit anymore until they start fitting again. Because if you keep increasing the size of your pants, that's a slippery slope, my friend. You're gonna be, you're gonna be Santa at Christmas in the mall before you know it. So you're gonna have to really, really get a handle on the quantity of food that you're eating. The only way that I have seen to reliably do this is to use a calorie counting app of some kind. Now, if you're really old school, you want to do it analog, hell, you can get a piece of paper and you can write everything down and do the math and figure out the calories and all that stuff. But it's a lot of work. I've done it that way and it gets tedious fast. The app itself is a little tedious. There's no question about it. But here's the thing, is you don't need to do it forever. Do it for a week. It will make you extremely aware of the amount of food that you're eating and the number of calories that food has. And as soon as you do that, you will be able to see right where you can start making some changes. And that's what I want to talk about next. Fat is the most calorically dense macronutrient. There have been lots and lots and lots of studies done to figure out which foods are most satiating and which foods are least satiating. And fat is the least satiating macronutrient by far. I know people like to tell you, oh, it's not, fat fills you up. No, it doesn't. Calorie for calorie, fat is the least satiating macronutrient. So the easiest way to trim back the fat in your diet is start with those things that you add to foods that are high in fat, that are not high in nutrients. Butter, Ugh, God, I know it's going to be hard, but you got to get the butter out. Cheese. Butter and cheese are loaded with fat, saturated fat in particular, very calorically dense, and they provide very little in the way of nutrients. So get them out of your diet. You know, I've even gone so far on a diet to cut back on healthy fats like guacamole. You know, I love guacamole, but it's like 100 calories per tablespoon, you know? So I'll drop it out for a while. Not that I'm gonna get rid of it forever, but yeah, if I'm trying to lose some weight, I'm gonna cut back on calorically dense foods. Peanut butter, calorically dense. Love it, healthy, you know, I absolutely agree that it can be included in a healthy diet. But if I'm trying to lose weight, I want to get that fat number down because it's calorically dense, it's not going to fill me up, and it's not going to help me meet my goals. So get the calorically dense foods out of your diet. When you start tracking your foods on an app, you're immediately going to recognize where those calorically dense foods are. And then start off by cutting them in half. You don't even need to get rid of it. Just cut your serving size in half. So when I was eating cheese years ago and I knew I needed to lose some weight, I would just cut the amount of cheese in half. Cut the cheese, yeah. Just cut the cheese in half. And I immediately started recognizing that I was losing a little bit of weight because I would have 2 or 3 servings of cheese per day. And if I cut that down to, say, 1 serving of cheese per day, well, that would save me a couple hundred calories right there. Every calorie counts. So just trying to shave a few hundred calories here and a few hundred calories there will make an enormous difference in the long run. Getting your calories down close to what your base metabolic rate is, and you can figure that out using a calculator, or you can just take your weight, your ideal weight, and multiply it times 10, and it's gonna be pretty close. So if you're, my size, I'm 5'7", and I weigh 170 pounds, 172 pounds as of today. I should probably be down to like around 158. That's probably my ideal weight, in terms of the BMI count goes. So I would take that 158 and just say 1,600 calories. That's my base metabolic rate. That means that's the number of calories it takes for me to maintain my body while I do nothing else. That's just pure, like, minimum number of calories expended during the course of a day, sitting on my ass doing nothing all day long, just maintaining my heart rate and my breathing. So if I'm at 2,000 calories or less, I'm going to lose weight because I probably am typically eating somewhere in the ballpark of 2,400 calories every day. And as long as I'm active and I'm exercising and I'm doing a lot of stuff, that's perfect. I break even right around 2,300 calories. But if I've been sitting around editing videos and staying up too late doing it and not getting enough exercise, well then, it slowly starts to add on, You're not burning off 100 or 200 calories a day. Well, you can see after a couple weeks, that turns into a pound, So start cutting the calories, use an app. It's the best way to get the job done. And you will immediately start seeing not only your waistline shrink, but all those other metabolic numbers will improve. Your blood pressure will improve, your blood sugar will improve, your cholesterol levels will improve. Simply by losing weight, all 3 of those numbers will improve. Finally, I want to address the pseudoscience because I know there are people out there who are going to say, oh no, Dr. So-and-so says you don't need to worry about cholesterol. And that's bullshit, FYI. That is absolute bullshit. Dr. So-and-so and his pseudoscience basically look at these observational studies that are correlating the amount of blood cholesterol someone has at any given time and their likelihood of dying. And what they have found in these studies, or the way they are represented, is that people with lower cholesterol die more frequently. And the problem with these studies is that they include people of all ages and all health statuses. So when you get old and you get sick, you're not going to eat very much. You're at death's door, your cholesterol levels are going to drop a lot. And so like if you're, say, 80, 85 years old and you've been fighting a chronic illness like cancer for a long time, well, trust me, you're not eating a lot. Your body is literally wasting away. And so guess what happens? Your cholesterol numbers drop because you're losing weight. And then guess what happens? You die. Not because of the low cholesterol or high cholesterol. Cholesterol wasn't even a factor probably. You died from cancer. That's what killed you. But that person ends up skewing the numbers. Now, when you take those people out and you just look at say, people between the ages of, say, 30 and 65 who are of reasonably good health, you'll find a linear effect between high cholesterol and death, period. So don't believe what Dr. So-and-so on some YouTube channel says about cholesterol, because he has misinterpreted the data, and there is an enormous amount of data. I mean, there are, 1,000 studies that show cholesterol is going to kill you. High cholesterol levels can kill you, versus the 1 or 2 that show that, it may not be as big a deal. Trust me, it's a big deal. When it comes to eggs and foods that are high in cholesterol, there's a lot of confusion around this everywhere. And part of it is because some people manage dietary cholesterol differently. There's a mechanism in your intestines that triggers the body to recirculate dietary cholesterol. And if that mechanism is working correctly, dietary cholesterol won't be a problem for you. Your body will you'll just move it out, you'll just shit it out. But if that mechanism is not correctly working, it's going to get recirculated back into your bloodstream. Some people are genetically predisposed to this issue, and so eating eggs for those people causes their cholesterol to go up. People whose body works correctly or works the other direction, eating eggs doesn't affect them. So different studies can show different things because of this mechanism being different in different people. That's it. That's all it is. So you have to experiment with yourself. You are N of 1. If eating eggs cause your cholesterol to go up, guess what? You've got a problem. You're going to stop eating eggs. If it doesn't seem to affect your cholesterol, then probably not a problem. Now, when I say not affect, I mean that your cholesterol is in a healthy area, a healthy zone, like your LDL cholesterol is, hovering around 100 or less, then yeah, eat eggs. If you've got no problem with that, then I shouldn't bother you. But if your LDL cholesterol is like at 150 or 160 when you're eating eggs and not eating eggs, it doesn't seem to matter, you've still got a problem. You're gonna have to do something about that cholesterol number. So the last topic I want to cover is exercise. And exercise will reduce your systemic inflammation. It'll reduce your stress in your body. It's good for your brain. You're going to burn some calories. It's going to improve your cardiovascular health. And if you include some resistance training, it's going to make you stronger and your muscles larger. The important thing about resistance training and having strong muscles is that, as we talked about earlier, glycogen is stored in the muscles, and intramuscular fat blocks glucose from being absorbed into the muscle tissue. So by having strong, healthy muscles that are active, you can accelerate the use of that intramuscular fat. You can get rid of it much, much faster. Bigger, stronger muscles are going to be able to absorb more glucose out of the bloodstream. In fact, right after a workout, your body is going to be kind of hungry for some glucose because you will have burned a lot of glucose during the workout. So having big, strong, healthy muscles really makes a huge difference in your body's ability to manage glucose, which is a critical factor in your overall metabolic health. So more than any single type of exercise, resistance training is critical for your metabolic health. Walking is great, jogging is great, it's good for your cardiovascular health, it's good for your mental health, you'll burn calories, all those things are great. But resistance training needs to be the core of your exercise program. That needs to be your highest priority, especially at age 60 and up, because that's going to give you some cardiovascular benefits, but the metabolic benefits are going to be off the chart. So you've got to get in the gym. You don't need to make it some kind of a special, hardcore, lift to die kind of thing. You just need to get one upper body pushing exercise, one upper body pulling exercise, and at least one lower body exercise as a bare minimum. That's like the bare bones exercise routine 3 times a week. And you should do 3 to 5 sets of each of those exercises 3 times a week. You can mix them up. You can do overhead presses versus bench presses, or rows instead of pull downs or pull ups, and then some kind of a leg press or leg extension, some kind of a leg curl or a Romanian deadlift, and just mix them all up. You can work your abs if you want. I'd certainly recommend it. And if you want to really push it, go ahead and get your arms in there to get your biceps and triceps. There's lots of fun things you can do, but I find that it's a lot better if you make the threshold for entry really, really low. You know, so you think, okay, I'm going to put 20 minutes into this. I'm going to do some push-ups. I'm going to do some air squats, and I'm going to do, you know, like one of those TRX kind of rows. I don't know if you know what that is, but it's a way that you can get in a good pulling movement at home without having to go to a gym, and you can get pretty good work on your back that way, your back and your arms. So those kinds of exercises you can get done really fast. If you're doing 3 to 5 sets of each of those, I swear you'll easily be done within 30 minutes, and you'll have done a great job of hitting every muscle in your body.